This is correspondent Sharp, and everyone seated here are representing representatives of sheets for autonomous tourism. Once again, welcome to the policy.
Emmanuel Igbasan, Harvard certified economic development professional, an accountant by training, a businessman by profession. I'm into oil and gas, I'm into real estate, I'm into consultancy, I'm into advisory, I'm into business re-engineering. That is what I do before I came into public service. And that is what I will return to after my service, my tenure in the public space. I also belong to several professional bodies, including certified public administration for England and Wales, a certified chartered management accountant, a fellow, and so many other things. I don't want to go academic. I have 2 master's degrees and about to obtain 2 PhD degrees also, one in accounting and one in management technology. Having said that, I got appointed into the government of Arakore in 2017, saddled with the responsibility of managing the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget for Ondo State. And when I got there, I take a cursory look, a deep retrospective look of what is going on, and vis-a-vis the best global practice. And we commenced the first process of migrating Ondo State from the ritual of annual budgeting to best global practice of medium-term sector strategy, medium-term budgeting framework, and medium-term expenditure framework. We successfully did that in 2018, where we also migrated Ondo State to the National Chart of Accounts to be in tandem with what obtains in civilized world and in Nigeria. And for the first time, we successfully engaged the citizens in the process of budget preparation, with the backdrop that if an administration has been saddled with the responsibility of managing our collective patrimony, then it is obvious that the people on whose behalf we are holding sway should also be involved in the decision process of how we deploy those resources. And that was what gave birth to our conviction that we should engage our people in the process of budget preparation. And luckily, the government of Arakore gave us the go-ahead, and we started. After we have started it in a year, then the global body of Open Governance Partnership came to Ondo State and they partnered with us. Incidentally, by the time they came, they found out that all their tenets is what we are upholding in terms of fiscal transparency, in terms of accountability, and in terms of openness and citizens' engagement that is already in existence in Ondo State. That was why in 2019, when EU would do comparative analysis of fiscal transparency in the whole country, Ondo State came first in terms of budget and fiscal transparency. As a ministry, we have several responsibilities that are cross-cutting in nature. Let me describe budget and economic planning ministry as the blood of the government and the life wire of the administration. On the backdrop that, just like the biblical saying, that a leaf cannot fall from the tree without the knowledge of the Almighty God. Likewise, nothing moves in the state without moving through the Budget and Economic Planning Ministry. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Because it becomes an offense that is punishable by impeachment. Extra budgetary spending by any governor or any government is an offense punishable by impeachment. So, for us in Ondo State, we occupy this critical function to ensure optimum allocation of resources to produce the desired result and desired effect on our people. So one critical responsibility that we have as a ministry is that of resource mobilization and allocation. Resource mobilization in the sense that apart from the Board of Internal Revenue Service that deal with taxes, we also have revenue-generating agencies, even including the Board of Internal Revenue, who oversee their work and see what you are making. Is it in tandem with our expectations for you? For example, during budget process, we'll sit down to agree on what they should generate. And if there's any disagreement, we point them to areas that they have left behind, that they should look into. So, apart from resource mobilization and optimal allocation for the betterment and the well-being of our people, we also is the coordinating ministry of all ministries and agents of the government. That ministry is divided into four critical areas. Number one is economic planning. We call them the planning department. We have the budget department. We also have I also superintend over the Bureau of Statistics, which is supposed to be the repository of all relevant data in Ondo State. Across the nation, Ondo State came first at 27% as the least state that has multidimensional poverty index. People may just take this figure and forget about it. But to us, it's more important. It shows what the work we have been doing over the years that is impacting the lives of our people. We are not the one that coordinated it. We are not the one that did that research. We are not the one that did that of EU. But it shows that we'll be doing something of tremendous impact on the lives of our people, and it is showing. Apart from that, if you look at our IGR, we are the ministry, the primary ministry that sit down with every revenue-generating agencies and agree optimally on what they should bring to the collective pool. That is why I say we have the responsibility of resource mobilization. And if there's any weakness or leakage in the system, we ensure that that leakage is closed. One of the critical departments that I did not mention, when I mentioned 3 or 4, I think I only expatiated on 3, is monitoring and evaluation department, which has the critical responsibility of monitoring our appropriation execution on monthly, quarterly, biannual, and annual basis. And for the first time in the history of Ondo State, if you go to www.ondobudget.org, you find from 2017 all the budget of Ondo State. Not only that, you will also find the report of the execution of those budgets on quarterly, biannual, and annual basis. This is fiscal transparency at its utmost, where we open our books without minding whose ox is God. That this is what we have done. We are ready to absorb criticism, constructive one, of course. Even when it is not constructive, we will do what is necessary or what we feel is necessary for our people. So he put Ondo State at number 4. If you look at World Bank, he put Ondo State at number 6 also, in terms of the size of our GDP. And the size of our GDP is indicative of the latent potentials we have to grow as a state. And unless it is harnessed, it remains potential without being realistic. Now, I will say this. And that GDP is at $8.4 billion. If you, when Naira was exchanging at 410 officially, or 425, that is almost a 4 trillion Naira annual economy. But at the current exchange rate now, you are talking of almost 6 to 7 trillion Naira economy. But if you now take the revenue that we grew from average of 700 million Naira monthly to about average of 3 billion on monthly basis now, and take the percentage, you will discover that we are yet to scratch the surface of what we potentially have the capacity to do or harness for the collective benefit of our people. Make a good living. We impact the climate negatively. For example, we want to harvest forest and we cut down trees. We want to cook food, we cut down trees. When there is strong wind, there is a reason God put these trees there to break those winds so that it will not affect us negatively. But if you see what the civilized countries that have gone ahead of us are facing now, you will realize the need, the critical need for us to plan our lives such that we do not bequeath such pain, such destruction on our children that are coming after us. That is what has given rise to us to say, let us plan our lives. Let us plan our resources. Let us examine what God has given us and put in place critical development strategy in such a way that at any point in time we know that this is where we want to get to. And for a state to be able to meet its niche, also there is that critical need to access your assets, your potentials, your capabilities. As a person, if, for example, my chairman wants to take another wife, the first thing he will look at is his salary. The second thing he will look at is his promotion trajectory. Or those of us that have 4 children, I know many of us don't have 8 children any longer. Why did we have a change of mind? It's because we looked at the sustainability. And the same thought process gave rise to long-term development perspective to our potentials, our values, our assets, on how we should optimally deploy them and grow and be prosperous in the increasing and sustainable manner. And lastly, for us as a state to meet our needs now and not live a chaotic life, we also need to plan ourselves properly. For example, the 2006 census, which is the last officially incontrovertible one, put Ondo State at population at 3.7 million people, divided into almost equal amounts of 1.7 male and female. But since 2006 to date, the whole landscape has changed. At the growth rate of 2.87 annually, if you extrapolate the population growth rate, now will be about between 5 and 6 million people. And you can also take that in 2054, 30 years from now, how many are we going to be? And what does that portend on the socio-economic cost of population? And you don't need to go too far. Just look at what happened in Akure last week when there was rainfall. It didn't happen 10 years ago because people have not built on waterways or flood paths. But today, because of space, we are occupying almost everywhere. What does that portend for our agricultural sector, where Ondo State over the years has been known as the largest producer of cocoa? Now Cross River has overtaken us. And why? What has happened to other cocoa reserves that Awolowo put there? Have we not bulldozed it off and begin to erect structures there? If you look at what is happening along Akure Ondo Road, large expanse of cocoa, large expanse of farmlands being bulldozed and estates are springing up there. And if it continues on this rate, how do we ensure food security for the teeming and growing population? If you look at the number of our youths today that are unemployed, when we got to the officially, they will say it's 44.7%. But unofficially, I can tell you that the youth unemployment is around 60%. Because you don't need to go too far. Look around you, how many graduates that you know that has graduated 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and has no job. And also take the number that you know that has jobs, then you will see that the problem staring us on the face is greater than what we thought. And more so, when you look at security issues, you wonder, why is it that Boko Haram, terrorists, insurgents are getting recruits every day? It's because people has become too depressed, disappointed, and hopeless about a greater future, that they prefer to die than to live. And that is why those people are having recruits every day, because of joblessness. If somebody graduates and you can find a job, why would you want to go and risk your life in criminal enterprise? So, it might not have manifested in our time now, but it's a keg of gunpowder that we are sitting on. If you go to any street at this hour now, and you want to distribute, say, 1 million naira, I can tell you that you will get youths that are more than 1,000 within 10 minutes. That shows you that they are idle and jobless. And they became ready tools in the hand of the devil and unscrupulous politicians. So should we continue this way and have a hope of a greater future? The answer is no. We need to plan ourselves to know, to look at the big picture, look at the actual picture, look ourselves naked in the mirror and say, yes, this is who we are, but this is what we want to be. That is the reason for the long-term perspective, to show us Ondo State today. And that does not mean that at other times there have not been development plans. But one critical element that is missing is people's ownership and participation. A government can sit down and say, I think this is what my people need, or this is what I want to do for my people within the period of my own mandate. And you have that during Baba Adefereti when he had the rural and the health ranger scheme. That is what he wanted to do. You have that during Agagu era, where he had the roadmap to progress. That is what he wanted to do. During Mimiko era, he had the carry heart mantra. That is what he thought he would do within his own mandate period. During the first time of Aketi administration, we have the GMPPR. During the second time, now we are being piloted with a redeemed agenda. All these things will fizzle out with that administration. But as a people, as the true owner of the commonwealth or the resources or patrimony of the state, because the true owners are the people. Those people are just managers. If you go to agency theory, they are just agents to manage it on our behalf, including myself. I'm managing the resources and economy of the state on behalf of about 6 million of us. So, after my time, those people that are coming, what are the expectations of the people from them? Or everybody will just come, do his own as an actor and leave the stage and leave us worse than they met us? The answer is definitely no. And this is why all of us must now come together to decide what we want these agents or actors to do for us when we give them the mandate. So, in any, for example, every critical sector will have what we term as strategic development. In the agri sector, for example, we will have what we call the agricultural strategic development trajectory for 30 years. So anybody can pick that document and look at the number of activities that any government will do. So if this, if government XYZ is able to do activity 1 to 10, then we expect in agri sector the ones that is coming after him to do 10 to 15 or 10 to 20. So it's no news to us. It's not that anybody will come and manage our resources in a manner that will not benefit us. In year 2022, they did it for 2021, and the report was released in 2022. Ondo State happens to be the state with the least indicator at 27%. Now we need to look at the cohorts or the variables of that research. Before now, there is just one global indicator that people use. If you live below $1, later they change it to $2 per day, then that family is adjudged to be poor. But in terms of, and subsequent ones done by UNICEF, UNDP, in Human Capital Development Index or indicator, which premiered in 1992, when people started talking about not looking at lateral growth now, but let us see the diffusion of wealth among the people, and they came up with the Human Capital Development Index or indicators. How has your growth impacted in the lives of the people? It's one thing to build this gigantic house, but how many people live in it? Those are the critical questions. So they use about 4 indicators. But in this multi-dimensional poverty research, about 15 indicators were used to arrive at that. Number 1 is, what is your rate of access to school and school completion rate? What is your access to quality health delivery service? What type of house or houses do you live in? Is it made on the thatch roof or lawn span or anything? It's an indicator. How many toilets do you have per person? How many toilets is in that house? How many people use that toilet? What nature of toilet do you use? What? So many indicators were used. And having administered those questionnaires, Ondo State was adjudged to have access to these basic necessities of life more than another person. And that cannot be far-fetched. When I said the Ministry of Economy Planning might not be on the surface or in the news, but it's the life wire of the government. When this government came to power in 2018, we discovered that 3,300 boreholes constructed by development partners, including EU, are moribund. And the Ministry of Water Resources was saddled and provided with a fund to rehabilitate and reconstruct new ones. And I think now the last figure I had was 2,800 of them has been, and this guarantees access to even the vast majority of our people. Not only that, they came up with the Kamomi Aketi model, where the water resources will be reticulated within 5-kilometer radius to reach at least 20,000 people. And it became a national model where the Minister of Waters came to Ondo State and saw what we were doing. So if anybody now comes to administer a questionnaire on access to water, which was 4% when we took over as a government, and now it's at 27.7% as at last year, then you will see the difference. And by the time we complete the reticulation of Owena Dam that was started by Agaguira, he built a dam there at Bolondru, and for the past 14 years, there was no drop of water. And it's a multi-dimensional poverty that's supposed to serve irrigation purpose, supposed to serve hydro or power purpose, and it's supposed to serve potable water purpose. When I led the team that came from AFDB to that place, we saw the long pipes that Agago bought to reticulate the water to Akure and its average. And by the time we gave the governor the report, he also commissioned us to negotiate with AFDB, where we got 104 million USD to reticulate that water and put it to use. And almost all the procurements are done. And after that, it will provide portable pipe-borne water to more than 1.2 million people. So these are the hallmark of good governance that may not materialize now, but will definitely has its impact later. So when we say that Ondo State has the least poverty impact, you also need to look at our tradition and history as a people. People say, average Ondo person is proud. We are not proud, we are only principled. Principled in the sense that instead of you to see an Ondo person to be a houseboy, it will be very hard. Is that true?
That is true.
For you to see an Ondo person to work as a houseboy, I've not seen one in any of our community. So Ondo person are very industrious. What does that show you? It shows they are industrious and enterprising. We love hard work. We love to labor rather than to beg. And whether we are civil service or not civil service, an average Ondo person will find one productive thing to do or the other. It's not all of us that can be engaged in the white-collar job. But some of them that are outside that you are thinking they are poor, they are even richer than those of us that are doing white-collar job and waiting for 30 days before we receive our salaries. If you look at the wage bill of Ondo State is almost between 4 to 5 billion in a month. And that goes into the economy, then you will, by the time workers receive their salary, being the greatest spender, the hairdresser will be patronized by our wife, by our children. The barber will be patronized. The food seller will sell more. So it's a cyclical or circular economy that will trickle down. And these are some of the things we have done to say. So when that result came out, some of us are not surprised at all. Ondo 1.0 was organized in 2018, putting into consideration some of the background information that are given you, looking at the great potentials of Ondo State. looking at the advantageous situation and location of Ondo State. For example, if you want to go to Lagos from More, it takes you just about 2 hours to get to Kara Bridge. If you are going to the southeast from More, it takes you average of 2 hours to get to Asaba, or 3 maximum, depending on who is driving. If you are leaving for Abuja from More, it takes you average of between 6 and 7 hours to get there. So we are almost equidistant to the major economic hubs of Nigeria. And when you look at the Southern zone, we open into the Atlantic. So we should put this natural advantage to use. That was what necessitated develop Ondo 1.0, to showcase the potentials and the benefit of partnering with Ondo State. One of the benefits is the development of the air route in Akure Airport. You know, it's not a state airport, but we look at it for us to bring investors. Transportation is key. And now, you are just 35 minutes away from Lagos, 45 minutes away from Abuja. And now we have 3 flights almost on a daily basis. And you can begin to see that in the number of people that have come to establish residential houses or business in Ondo State, because they no longer need to travel through the den of kidnappers and ritualists before getting into Ondo State. And another benefit of 1.0 is that we look at it that security of great concern. And that was what Mr. Governor championed. The Southwestern Nigeria Security Network, codenamed Amateco. And today, we are all benefits of the peace and tranquility and safety of lives and properties that we enjoy. Does that mean there are no pockets of security breaches? Yes, there are. But it's also part of the living experience in any part of the world. But are we doing something about it? The answer is yes. We are doing something about it. I will make Ondo State a habitable for any criminal element. Have we won the battle? Not yet, but we are winning. So, when you look at all these potentials and at the backdrop of Develop Ondo 1.0, before this administration, UNDP left Ondo State, that they will never partner with Ondo State again because of some skirmishes that they had with Ondo State. I think since around 2014, they are about, between 2012 and 2014, UNDP left Ondo State. We brought them back during Develop Ondo 1.0, and now they are progressive and profitable partners of Ondo State. In fact, they got a consultant that has gone around the whole local governments to do the needs assessment for this long-term development plan, free of charge. They gave us, they partner with us. There is another, apart from several other companies that has leveraged on that Develop Ondo, we have done the benefits in the form of a pamphlet. Anytime you come to my office, I'll give you one. You will see the outcomes and the benefits. So there's no amount of money that you spend in projecting your state that is ever a jamboree or a waste. The benefit might not materialize directly, but somehow you get the indirect benefit. And for the ones that manifest directly, you will now have more World Bank participation and partnership in the state. There's another development partner, IDH, that is partnering with our farmers and giving input and cultivating land. So many of them. We have, as a result of Develop Ondo 1.0, we have great industrialists, including JB Farms, at Ore, that is cultivating 10,000 hectares of oil palm, that has engaged nothing less than 4,000 workers at Ore. They go there. That is why I talked about investigative journalism. Check these things out on your own. Go there, see what is going on, then think of where that place or the economic impact in the next 10 years when those palm begins to fruit. Now, and apart from that, there's a meal that is coming, that is accompanying that one. Coming to Ondo 2.0 is too early to throw out the baby with the bad water, that it was only a jamboree. Considering the number of people, for example, you will see the MD of NDDC in physical attendance. Since then, we have commenced conversation on how they partner with us. Because in one of our meetings at NEC, I told Mr. Governor, we need to engage these people. You cannot sit in Port Harcourt and know our needs and then throw projects at us. Every time you want to prepare your budget, call the budget office, such that we'll tell you our need that is in line with our own development objectives. And gladly this year now, we are part of the budget process of NDDC. The other people who have told my people to engage yesterday that we're going to engage is Ministry of Niger Delta. You cannot be in Abuja and know our problems here. Or you just throw projects at us and say this is what you will give to Ondo State. We have to develop it together. And those are the benefits. If you look at Chevron was present, they have promised so many things. NNPCL sent their subsidiary, and now they are going to establish a factory here where they weld the welding and the joinery or something here in Ondo State. So the benefits have started trickling in even before we ended. So it can never be a jamboree. If it doesn't materialize directly, it's going to materialize indirectly. Then talking of Port Ondo, let me say this. In the whole of Africa, the only place that you find a deep sea port in the true sense of the word is only in Ondo State. And if you look at other states or other port, we talk of Badagry Port, it has just 5 meters natural draft, between 4 and 5 meters. By the time they dredge and they may walk cable under the sea, they can't go more than 7 meters natural draft. If you go to One, the same thing. If you go to Bayelsa, the same thing. If you go to Delta, the same thing at Ogara. They are all river ports. If you go to Apapa, they are all river ports. What is the difference between deep sea port and river port? Is that mother boats cannot land at our jetty. They have to stop at the high sea, and then smaller boats, we need to meet them and offload. And that is what we have been operating in Nigeria. And that is why the cost of goods and the cost of operations is higher than what you have in places like Cotonou or all the rest. And in addition to port congestion. What is the greatest alternative? Ondo State presents the best and the greater and the most economic and efficient alternative to port congestion in Nigeria without being political. Because even right from the colonial eras, Alakpe used to have a port there that the ships of these people will bath at Alakpe there. Around Ori and Alakpe. It's as deep as anything. So before you dredge Ondo State Port at all, you have between 18 to 24 meters natural draft. And what does this portend for us? When they came up with the onshore and offshore law, it affected and impacted Ondo State negatively. How? When you go to rivers. And that is why, if you look at the mineral derivation, what comes to Ondo State is minimal. Because before you walk 1 kilometer or 500 meters into the sea. Here, it was already deep shore. But there, you will walk 10 kilometers and you are not in deep shore. This portends a great economic disservice to us, and we felt that the way to change the narratives and also bring the attendant companies and enterprises and businesses to Ondo State would be for us to develop this deep sea port. We had one free zone with Ondo State at Olokola. But when we look at it, it was encumbered and the benefit tends towards Ondo State. So we decided to have this one that is not encumbered. And luckily, last year, we even thought it would be this administration that will give us the port, because even before we know whether it will materialize or not, the visionary leadership of Arakùnrin Akeredolu spent almost 1.4 billion to make sure that the necessary research, the necessary survey, the necessary testing, everything has been done, which ordinarily supposed to be done or borne by Nigerian Port Authority. The state did everything, and in conjunction with them, such that when the result comes out, it will not be controvertible. And that was what has expedited the granting of that license to Ondo State. And even before granting that license, the investors that knows the huge potential that will attend the creation or the construction of that port has already lined up. So, be ready for a paradigm shift in Ondo State. And you can imagine that the effect on real estate, because government has acquired at least about 100,000 hectares in that environment and delineated it into the oil city, the real estate city, and that also will impact on our tourism at the beautiful beach of Araromi, that which is comparable to what you have in Miami. So we are poised to harness this system. Can it be done in this single administration? The answer is no, and therefore the need for long-term perspective. Tripartite project between, let me say, bilateral project between Ondo State government and the management of NDDC. And it was also in the bid of the visionary leadership of Arakùnrin Akeredolu-led administration to open up Ondo State. Right now, if you travel on bike from Araromi to Akodoleki, it takes you between 35 to 45 minutes to get there. That is how close we are to Lagos. And we thought that if, given the congestion in Lagos, if we have a Florida city in Araromi, create an island there, people may likely migrate from Lagos, Lekki, Ikoyi, that has now become a commercial center, to a more serene center. And that is why we create that estate in that axis. But then, Ondo State, that rest of road was divided into two. Ondo State was to take from Araromi to Akodoleki. NDDC was to start from around Alakpe to that place. After that agreement, then the chaos or crisis that hit NDDC started, where for several years the management will be constituted, dissolved, and be reconstituted. And as we speak today, I don't think they have a board in place. Now, to also compound the issues, Ondo State, because the mandate, the law setting up NDDC, does not permit them to work outside the mandate area. There's a small dot in which they will pass through Ogun State at the riverine side, small dot. NDDC mandate does not permit them. And as at that time, Lagos State also was not listed as oil producing state. So Ogun and Lagos was not part of their mandate area. So they couldn't take the whole stretch. Ondo State said, okay, we will construct it. But can we construct that one without the foundation? The answer is no. So we are hoping. But the one that we did was to construct the road that is within Ondo State, I think from that Araromi junction to Alakwe, which is almost nearing completion. Yes. Even as at ESCO last week, we approved the loan for Osopade to complete that road. So it's right on course, right on target, and it will be delivered with high precision. Most of our youth who laughed on that ill-fated viral video that exposes the depth of thinking of our people. It was quite unfortunate that it damaged the psyche of this state almost beyond redemption. But luckily for us, our result has cancelled all insults. Because in that program, Ondo State came first in the whole of southern Nigeria in terms of performance, and we came third in the whole of Nigeria. And World Bank and federal government gave us an award for that. Now, what is the crux of the matter? Is based on pure ignorance of how performance for result program as designed by World Bank works. At the advent of the COVID, the Nigerian Governors Forum and the federal government approached World Bank to provide succor to our people. And there were two core objectives of that program. Number one, to safeguard lives and safeguard livelihood. On the backdrop that the mitigating policy of the spread of COVID as at then necessitated the shutdown of the economy from March till August. That means the demand and supply end of our economy was badly impacted. Producers are not producing. Buyers are not buying. Sellers are not selling. What is the impact? Job losses that will further compound our woes in the unemployment market. How they quickly move to design this program to safeguard lives and livelihood. And they come up with 3 thematic areas. Number one, social investment. Cash transfer to the elderly and to the youth who don't have certificate that will earn them a living. Number two, they look at food security through FADAMA, who will provide incentives and farm assets to farmers. And they look at SMEs, that is number 3 area, which is they call economic stimulus now in stage. They look at SMEs that if we do not help these people, some of them have taken loan that they service every month. Once they do not produce or open the next 8 months, these loans will go bad because bank will continue to charge interest. They design a program in which the project will be able to pay up to 40% of those loans that were taken prior to COVID-19 incidents, and more so provided by financial institutions that are supervised by Central Bank of Nigeria. So if you take money from Isusu or Lapo or Family Affairs, you do not qualify, and your business must have been in existence before June 6, year 2020, for you to qualify. They came up with 11 DLIs, disbursement linked indicators. That is, if they want to disburse this money, you must achieve this. Program for result is something that it is your result that will trigger the release of resources. You show us your result, we reimburse you. So that design is that State governments should have deployed their own resources towards these areas. From the level indicators, you are at liberty to choose at least 4. Ondo State are subscribed to 8 of them. And we have 6 delivery platforms. Ministry of Commerce, our Ministry of Agency for Microcredit Agency, we have FADAMA, we have the Office of Multilateral and Intergovernmental that deal in social investment. Then we have Community and Social Development Agency to execute. My office does not execute anything. And from the design, you said $750 million was sourced from World Bank. From that $750 million, $50 million was given to the Federal Chaos Unit that will oversee the whole country. 50 million, that is from where they will even hire consultants and auditors. $50 million was allocated to Federal Capital Territory. Then every state now, the rest 36 of us, has the opportunity to access up to $20 million. This $20 million is not given to any state. It is warehoused at a dedicated account at Central Bank of Nigeria. When you show your result, World Bank will evaluate and then write to Central Bank that for this state, this is how much they have earned from the allocated $20 million which you release this amount to them. That's how the program was. So where will somebody now see 20 million that has not come into the state to keep? Now, when we started that project, Senator Akriye through his PA, Ayo, that PA's name is Ayo because he wrote it at the back of the paper. He quickly generated almost 238 names and took it to Ministry of Commerce. And those ones said, no, it doesn't work like this. Number one, there is a form design. World Bank has engaged Bank of Industry to deploy their enterprise platform to pay these people. It's not even the state that will pay. The state will mine aggregate these applications, look at those ones that are qualified, and send it to Bank of Industry. Bank of Industry also has what we call independent agents that they have trained with their gathered that will locate the address that you put there and snap it with the geospatial location of that address to see that that business is actually in existence and send it to the platform of Bank of Industry. That is how tedious it is. And Bank of Industry will look at it. Is this business in existence before COVID, June 6, 2020? So what most people that are crying foul in the media did was to look for non-existent companies and portfolio and begin to load us with applications. And by the time you get to Bank of Industry, they said it cannot fly. And Bank of Industry, with World Bank, designing in such a way that they have what we call nano enterprise. Nano enterprise is tabletop enterprise, myself alone. Trade top business. Those people are entitled to between 100,000 and 200,000 maximum. They went to the one they called micro enterprise. I have 2 or 3, between 2 and 3 to 5 employees that I don't want to push into the labor market. I'm entitled to between 3 to 400,000. Okay, I have more than 5 employees, which I show, and I don't want to push them. Can you help me in operational grant? Okay, you are entitled to a maximum of 700,000 so that it can go around. 700,000 is the maximum amount allocated to any of those businesses who have passed through series of test and verification. So I don't know where Senator Akriye got 3.2 or 2.3. It's neither in the design or in the in the proclamation or in the project of any World Bank project, because I'm the focal person for all World Bank projects in Ondo State, and they have never done that. Now, for the first time, I saw a flexible program that has safeguards and controls. There has never been any like what we have in NGKS, and is able to meet the need of every public. Now, people also queried the social register. I was at NEC last month when the governors and the vice president disparaged the single social register. And because I am just having an observer status, when my governor wanted to stay, I said, oh God, don't see anything. These people don't understand what they are saying. Now, permit me to take a little time to explain what single social register entails. Single social register tries on what we call community-based targeting. And it's an improvement on what Aregbesola did in OES, in Osun State during his time. World Bank took that program and built it up, that, okay, this program can affect the lives of our people, but let us disaggregate them. So what the design is that you need to disaggregate the spectrum of vulnerable people in the country and in the state. They have an office that we call SOCO, the State Office Coordinating Unit of Social Investment, and it is resident with multilateral here in Ondo State. So what those states will do is to look at the poverty map that was a result of research, the poorest local government in Ondo State. And from 2018, they came up with 6, including Ondo, Ilaje, Ondo East, and maybe Akoko North, thereabout. And they went to these communities. And before they go to that community, they will inform them they are coming. The community themselves will gather as we are gathered here. And there are a set of questions that they will have to administer, such as those questionnaire that gave the report of multidimensional poverty. Once they are answering and they are punching it, it's automated. It goes to the national office. Once you are answering the question, is that your answers that will determine where you belong to, whether you are poor or not. For example, if they ask you, how many of you lives in what type of house is this? Oh, it's bungalow of 4 rooms. How many of us live here? They said 20. And you put it there. It has started aggregating it somewhere. And how many toilets you have? You say, we don't have toilet. We'll go to the open field. They punch it. It goes somewhere. What is the roof type? Oh, it's thatched roof. It's something. They punch it. It goes there. How many of you? What's the highest? How many of you have gone to school here? Oh, none. They punch it. It goes there. How many of you has any disability, hearing impairment? Oh, it is 1. They punch it. It goes there. It is what they have done in the whole of 18 local governments since 2018. As I speak to you now, we have close to 1 million people in that social register. Unfortunately, those people that are covered there are not the people that will call you journalists. Because those people that are covered there, they are the voiceless type. So those people shouting to hell or the social media, they are not the vulnerables. The vulnerables are people that you will give 5,000. How many of us send more than 5,000 or maximum of 10,000 to the aged in the village? And they will pray for you from morning when you call them. That is it. Some families are there in the rural settings who does not even see 5,000 in 3 months. These are the people that are in the list, not the people that are using smartphone and iPhone and they are saying we did not benefit. They are not supposed to benefit. That is the truth. They are not supposed to benefit. And to crown it, by the time when they do the first harvesting, the validation process is still there. The validation is when the federal and the payment service provider, we call them PSP, any of the commercial banks, will now follow the SOCO office to that particular community. So if there's anyone that is whole that cannot come, it is there they open an account for them and they gave them a token, such that when the money is coming from Abuja or anywhere, I don't need to know, you don't need to know me. It goes directly into that account. And for Ondo State, that account, that payment service provider is UBA. So the list, the names, they are there, they are our people. And this is where we need what I call investigative journalism, the press, to educate the people, the masses. Some of these old people, by the time I went for evaluation and monitoring, they have collected 2 months. The alert is in their small touchlight phone, but they don't even know how to open their messages. When we got there, I got to Akoko. Mama, have you collected? I said, and the statement printed out from the bank, he said they have transferred to it. Mama, check any phone there, provide it alone. I told mommy, hello, back for me. By the time we got there, 2 months is there. Imi omo etina tori mama oma. So that is the crux of the matter. A problematic one and a pathetic one for us as a state. If you look at the rich cultural and historical heritage of that place and their enterprise and industry, it's not a place that should go into extinction. But then there are so many theories. Because for me, before I prefer solution, I want to dig deep into the root cause so that I'm not dealing with the symptom, but the source of that problem. And when we debated it with Mr. Governor, I said, sir, before we can provide lasting solution to the sea caution in Nigeria, we need to know the cause or causes. 3 possible schools of thought. There's no vacuum in nature. If you look at the proximity of Ondo State to Lagos and the quantum of sand that was pulled from the sea to create the new city, where they drove the sea several miles away, it's a possibility. Do we even know whether majority of those sand were taken from Ondo State, where nature is reacting? Apart from taking that, some states, let me be particular now, they erected sea breakers at the bottom of the sea, which will change the natural course of flow of the sea water. Could they be the repercussion that we are experiencing here? The third perspective is the activity of oil companies. I personally, when I was doing my research, stumbled on a classified information as far back as 1958 that shows that something of this nature will happen around that place at the exploration of oil. But it was killed. And the fourth one is the rise in ocean level due to climate change, which is global, through the melting of the glacier hemisphere. You see, all those combinations of factors have resulted in our own fair share of the fury of nature and fury of the sea that we witness in Ayetoro. Now, I've set this background for us to appreciate what is confronting us. Several of the projects that are awarded, especially the last one that was awarded through NDD to ocean dredgers. One was awarded to Garnet Nigeria Limited, who wanted to use tubular to block the sea. As at that time, I think it was just 6 billion. They paid about 4 billion. He brought some tubular and sand dues, but they cannot address the system. Once you do not know the cause, your solution cannot be permanent. That one went down the drain. They awarded to these ocean dredgers again, who thought they would find enough sand to sand fill that place and reclaim the land. They brought, if you still go there now, you still see their equipment. They brought the first time dredger. By the time they worked for a few days, they ran out of sand. And the place they will find sand, because the sea area of Ondo State is not like what you find in Lagos. It's partly muddy, majorly muddy. And that is why the state government is thinking of constructing a road or bridge or jetty into that place, about a kilometer or two into the sea, before we can have our way. And that is the design now. Now, by the time the ocean dredgers came with their machines, they thought they would work and got it. They got stopped. So many of the perspective being put out there is not true. It's not true. But the bottom line is, we need to do critical examination and solving to know the actual nature of the problem confronting us before we can provide a lasting solution. Now, coming to new map, it's erosion and watershed, the program of the World Bank. We had to construct covers and mitigate erosion impact. But they did a design also, which was approved by the Federal Ministry of Environment and World Bank. But by the time they finished this design, number one, Ondo State joined that new map late. It was 2 years into the program, and every program cycle of a World Bank project is between 4 to 5 years. The cycle ran out, though they have approved the design. But there's no money remaining in that project that the World Bank has allocated to Nigeria to tackle it. And that was what happened to that new map. Now, what are the efforts that we are making? Apart from conducting the necessary research to know the nature, I talked to a professor here who has said they would like to use satellite mapping to see the bottom of the sea and see what is actually happening there. And part of the preliminary observations is frightening, because it seems the sea is changing its natural course. And if it does, Ayetoro will be the first area of impact. It will go through Ideogba. And if you see, it is moving in one direction. Now it is abated. But once it comes again, it becomes another thing. So as a state, we need to find out the true cause of that project before we can provide solution. Now, we have spoken to where myself and the acting governor met with the acting central bank governor and asked him at least to even mitigate, resettle, and do some level of reclamation. Can you advance us money? And the Mr. Governor, before he left for medical vacation, set up our committee to look for fund to deal with Ayito. And he was highly emotional. And he said, this will be one of the bad things he will be remembered for, that he left Ayito worse than he meant it. And he passionately pleaded with us to look for that fund, to see that we will salvage Ayito. And we are on it. Even as at last expo, it was still discussed. And by God's grace, we will be on top of it soon. And I see him as a man that is devoid of offense towards anyone. So if he takes any action, he takes it as it comes to him. It's out of free conscience. And I see him as an intelligent person. I had to study him when I came into government. is a lover of intelligence and a lover of critical thinking and visionary approach to issues. But sometimes he's abrasive and intolerant of indolence. And unfortunately, and lies. And unfortunately, he has more than fair share of those ones, which have made people to misunderstand his person. But I have a very close relationship with him. Like I said earlier before you came, that every month I enjoy attending the National Economic Council meeting with him. And he's a man of great conviction. If he's convinced about the thing, let the whole world say no, he will move ahead. Then if he makes a genuine mistake, he will turn back. This genuine mistake is not intentional. So most times I tell people that even when he makes mistakes, I call it genuine mistakes. If your intention is right, but the outcome turns wrong, then it's a genuine mistake. You didn't intend for that outcome to sit that way. So that is the kind of person he is. Someone that is passionate about the development of Ondo State. He might not be able to meet the needs of everyone, but to his best ability, he loves the people with a sincere heart. That's the kind of person he is. And working with him has further enriched me in making sure that I'm sure of my facts and figures before I talk to him. So I don't talk to him as a politician. I talk to him as a technocrat and a coordinator of the economy. I'm bound to tell him the truth no matter who doesn't like me. And that is the kind of relationship that existed with us. Do I ever think I will be a commissioner? The answer is no. I wouldn't want to go back to my upbringing, but some of us, like you, also come from the mud. Not Apata. Some of us did not rise up from the stone. We rise up from the mud. My first degree was as an Okada rider. My grade 2 teaching living certificate, after I had 8 marriages, saw me being an apprentice to a bricklayer. And that bricklayer, my Oga, turned out to also build my house in the village. And he's still a bricklayer today. An apprentice bricklayer, not the one that... I was also an apprentice driver sometimes. And I drive from Kubwa to Kano, Sabongeri, to work out a living, even after my graduation. So some of us have been there. I will be a commissioner, no, but I think and I pray then that the future should be all right for me. The future has not arrived, but we're in the next bus stop. So, your third question, sir?
Maybe I will change it.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Be defined and designed by the invisible hand of the Almighty. So when we rely on Him, He will take you there at His own time. What the future holds for me, I don't know, but I know the one that holds the future. So I know my future will be brighter than this. The internal and external debt. But when you bring the total thing together, at the exception of it, administration, plus contractual debt, amounted to 220 billion when we took over. Right now, we are at the threshold of between 92 and 97 billion, the ones we have offset, including multilateral debt. So we have gradually reduced it. And how we did it? All those salaries we paid were part of those debt. Pensioners alone, their cumulative debt was almost 35 billion when we took over. And we said there's no, even if you deploy the resources of the state, we cannot offset this. Let us earmark an amount, 200 million monthly, and that is what they have been prorating between people. How they handle it is another ball game, because I also have my reservations and I make it known to the people that matters. But right now, with the fiscal surplus that we're expecting, we will expect that one, apart from the palliative we're going to give them, to grow to about 300 million per month, so that larger number of our pensioners can be covered. And everywhere you take that, consistently we have been doing that. All leave bonuses has been paid, I think, except for levels 9 to 16 for 2019, which we will pay now. Up to 2033 leave bonus has been paid. So, in contractual debt, the model that we adopt does not put us into indebtedness, because looking at the totality of our resources and our situation as a state, Mr. Governor came to the firm realization that we cannot mobilize any of the contractors. And we have work to do. If you have your money, go and work. Before you get to a milestone, we will have saved enough to pay you for what you have done, then you look for money to do. As of today, with all the works that I've done, I'm not sure we are owing up to 10 billion of contractual debt, because it is based on milestone that we pay you. So that's how that is all about debt. But if you need the actual amount, come to the office, I'll bring it out.
Thank you.
It's not compulsory. Just people who are fine. Only delete